You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Welcome everybody to episode 26 of the Fezcast. I checked it this week rather than just going whatever. This week, Jez is in seat number 2, mainly because he's actually got some interesting things to talk about and I need to keep him on a leash. You right, Jez? How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you very much.
Excellent. And we've also got Alex, who's actually seen some of the rugby, so can talk some sense for us this week, which would be fantastic. How are you doing, Alex? You right? You've just had half term, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. You were freezing cold on Friday night, I understand, at the women's game.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually. It's more just the rain.
Yeah, I was out elsewhere on Friday night. Didn't enjoy it one bit. I would much rather have been at the women's game. But anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. We're going to chat through some of the wider bits going on around the club because there are a few this week. Especially with some of our younger players. We'll look first at Saracens under-18s and then England under-18s because we haven't really mentioned the Saracens under-18s campaign at all on the Fezcast this year. We've had so much other stuff going on, but it's gone pretty well with the under-18s finishing third in the league. And from what we've seen in a few highlights, Jez, there's some players to watch, really, isn't there? And some pretty strong results for us as well.
Well, I think so, and I think you're seeing the fruition of that as we've seen players like Angus Hall and Jack Bracken and Charlie Bracken coming through. That the future is bright. You know, we got a lot of good young players, and our youth policy does seem to be bearing some fruition, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jack Bracken, Angus Hall. They were both obviously playing for England under 20s fairly recently, and that's going pretty well. And Olamido Sadeki, who I've definitely not pronounced right, is also in there. See, I can pronounce Angus Hall, but you know that's there it is. But and there's some call ups for England under 18s. 5 to be exact for Saracens, and I think one thing that we'll be quite pleased to see is that 2 of them are props. We've actually got 1 loose head and 1 tight head in the England under 18s, and it's been something that we've kind of struggled to develop for the last few years, isn't it, Jez?
Yeah, we've last season we seemed to discuss it on every week's show, didn't we? That what was going wrong with the front row. Now it seems to be front row is one of our strengths, and yeah, you can definitely see that there are cabs on the rank going quite a way back, getting ready to step up to the next stage. So as a senior player perhaps moves on, a younger player moves into the senior squad, and an even younger player moves up. There's a progression, which is all that you can ask for in the club, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, I confess I don't know a huge amount about a lot of our under-18s players other than the various short highlights packages. But we've got Alan Poku and Marlon Farouk Roy, who are the 2 props in the England side. Matt Branch Holland, who's been playing at number 8 throughout Saracens under-18s campaign, which will please Jez no end. And 1 wing and 1 fullback, Zach Finch and Ben Morrow, who, again, they've been ever present in that under-18 side. It's worth mentioning Noah Kalori as well, who's the other winger in the Saracens under-18s, who's been a walking highlights reel on his own for the last couple of years. I think he's actually just missed the cut-off to be part of the England under-18s this time round. Played and a try of his went viral last year, I believe, but I think he's more at under-20s level now. But yeah, 5 players in that under-18s team, and we'll look forward to seeing what we've got out of them, as we have done for the England under-20s. But on now briefly to the women's team, one bit of news out of the women's side is that Isla Alejandro is moving off for a little while to Chicago. The new Women's Elite Rugby, I believe it's called, or were, as I overheard her talking about last week. She's going off on loan to Chicago to play in that new league, which will be great for her development, won't it, Alex?
Yeah, and I think it's very good. She's not had loads of game time this season, so hopefully that will really help her game going into next season.
Absolutely, and it's worth noting as well that Alex Osterbury in the press notes about that has specifically said that he looks forward to welcoming Isla back for 2025-26. So bit of continuity, Jez, and yeah, it can only stand her in good stead, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think you see it with a lot of players that sometimes they do need to go somewhere and get some exposure. And for her to go off, get some different coaching, get some different aspects, get some different ideas in the same way as we were talking last week about Max Malins going to Bristol or Ben Earl when they went to Bristol, whatever. It creates much more rounded players, and it'd be an amazing experience for her as well, going out to America, playing in Chicago. I mean, I'm not sure how much of an amazing experience America is at the moment, but I mean, that's for a different podcast, isn't it, Matt? But yeah, no, good luck to her, and hopefully she'll come back an even better, even more rounded, and even more developed player.
Yeah, we'll keep politics out of the Fezcast, otherwise we'll be here for weeks and weeks and weeks. But yeah, it'd be good to see how Isla's going to develop in that. And you're right, her game time has been limited over the last couple of years to sort of playing when the internationals are away or injuries happen. And she's always a good person to have around as well. So looking forward to welcoming her back. On to the men, they're actually playing some rugby in the next month, believe it or not. We've got a friendly arranged against Edinburgh on Friday the 14th of March in Edinburgh at the Hive, which is a bit of a return. We faced Edinburgh in November at home, so presumably there's been a nice handshake and a deal to go up that way in March, perhaps when it's slightly warmer in Scotland on a Friday night, to play a friendly against them the week before the showdown, which unfortunately does mean it is the same weekend as the PWR final, which we hope we're in. But hopefully the fact that it's on a Friday night means that people can either double up or choose which one they're going to. I mean, obviously everyone should be going to the PWR final, really, but it'll be a good warm up for the showdown, though, right, Jez?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's important because, as you say, we're going to have a month off now. I don't know what Quins are going to be like, but Quins have got they're still in as it stands, still in the Prem Cup, so they'll be battle hardened. Whereas perhaps, we did discuss it last week. There's a few players who perhaps deserve a week or two on the sunbeds before getting back into the whole scheme of things. So yeah, well, let's see what happens. But yeah, it'll be a good run out for them, and I think should hopefully set them up for that showdown again.
Yep. And last one, Sam Crean, month-long loan, Ulster. That is about the summary that we've got on the Saracens website in that news article. It is literally one sentence long. I assume Sam is coming back soon. But yeah, hopefully a little bit of action. Presumably Ulster are a bit depleted. Be good to see what Sam can do in that quick month. But let's move on. Let's talk about some action over the weekend. And this is where I need to bring in Alex. Because the home women's game against Sale, our last league fixture of the season, unfortunately wasn't streamed because I think the guys there are a little bit short-staffed, having spoken to Harry a few weeks ago on the show, and weren't able to do that. So Alex is the only one of us that's actually seen the Sale game. So you can tell us everything that happened from start to finish, Alex. Go.
Well, I think it's a very slow start. The weather didn't help. There was multiple knock-ons and just kind of passes going to ground and stuff. But I think once we got that first score from Gabby Sent, it really helped. And then we just kind of kept scoring and didn't really let Sale in, apart from for a couple of tries. But
absolutely. No, that's fair enough. I mean, it was, I think a few of us were a bit surprised when we saw the team selection. Obviously, we needed to win to make sure we had a home semi-final. But other than a couple of players rotated out or maybe missing due to a little knock, it was a pretty strong team, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think we wanted to kind of build the momentum going into the semi-finals next week. And it's been a really short season with internationals coming back from WXV and stuff. So I think it was just about building momentum going into semi-finals so then we can go out next week and be really strong.
That makes perfect sense. I did notice that Lottie Clapp went off a little bit earlier than we might have expected. Did it look like there was a little injury there potentially?
Yeah, she took a knock and then she kind of tried to keep playing and then we scored and then she just went off. She was on crutches at the end of the game, but didn't look too bad. So hopefully it's more precautionary and she'll be back at the weekend.
Yeah, a little bit worrying. But yeah, I mean, going back just to team selection wise, Jez, you always talk about momentum. You think that was the right call, just going relatively full strength for that game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, number one, we were fairly safe. We were fairly confident we were going to get a home semi-final there. No disrespect to Sale, but even a third string Saracens team, you'd expect them to get that bonus point win. But yeah, really important. I think, as Alex alluded to, players have been away for quite long periods of time. It's a shortened season. You're now asking them to do 3 games at the end of the season where they've had breaks, they've had time off, they've had this, that, or the other. I think it was the right decision to go full throttle at it and send a message. If nothing else, it's sending a message to Quins to say, look, this is where we're at. We really are on top form, and you're going to have to bring your AA game to the Stonex on the weekends to stand a chance. And that's as much as getting momentum and everything. I think it was sending a message and saying, look at what we've got, be frightened, as they used to play at Vicarage Road, which I'd love to hear them play again. Would be nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. And that's what they're saying. They say, look, here we are, come and get us. And, it's a big, big statement, I think.
I think Alex was born when they were playing that at Vicarage Road. Oh, dear. Well, 2 players that actually I would like to ask Alex about specifically are Zoe Harrison and Jess Breach. Obviously, they both returned from injury the week before, and both perhaps looked a little bit rusty, particularly Jess in defence. How did they both get on this weekend, Alex?
Yeah, Jess didn't really get the ball much, just because we kind of kept it in the forwards. Didn't really want to kind of fling it out wide for risk of like a pass going to ground or an intercept, especially because the ball was so slippery. But I think she generally had a good game. And Zoe was really good apart from a yellow card, which Saracens omitted from their match report. Whether deliberately or accidentally, I don't know. But she got all but one of her conversions and was really good at controlling the game.
Fair enough. Yeah, they do like occasionally just to gloss over some of the black marks on something, especially if it's warranted. But yeah, noticed a couple of tries from Sydney Gregson as well, I think she got shifted out to the wing and then shifted back to centre potentially as well. It looks like she's picked up some form as well towards the end of the season, and actually a bizarrely rare try from Marley Packer as well.
Yeah, I think Sydney managed to stay on the wing, but at one point we did have 3 fly halves.
Yep.
Because I don't think we definitely weren't expecting Lottie to go off and have to have Sarah McKenna come on so early. So yeah, there was definitely kind of a bit of who's playing where in the back line towards the end of the game. But I think Marley played really well, and yeah, just kind of the whole team dominated. So kind of everyone had a good game.
Excellent. Well, actually, you mentioned that because Amelia McDougall came on with 15 minutes or so to go. And I did ask someone else about this, and they couldn't actually work out because you had Zoe, you had Amelia, you had Beth Blacklock on the pitch as well, and obviously Sarah McKenna. Like, where were the 4 of them playing between them? Was that 10, 12, 13, 15, and anyone couldn't be anywhere?
It wasn't quite obvious, but I think Zoe went into the centres with Beth Blacklock, Amelia went to 10, and then Sarah McKenna was at fullback. But yeah, it was kind of just play wherever there's a gap, and they worked it out between themselves.
That's not a bad thing to do for the last 15 minutes of the game, is it, Jen?
Well, no, and I think the interesting thing there is, and we've seen it before when England did it, didn't they? Where they actually, I think it was in a Six Nations game a couple of seasons ago, they actually took a player off and played with 14 for 10 minutes against Wales when the game was won, just to see how you would cope with it and how to do it. And obviously, things can happen. We see it on the weekend. I'm sure we'll talk about Six Nations where teams are going on the bench, for instance, and looking at players playing out of position. Anton Dupont playing at standoff, for instance, for France for quite a lot of the game. Teams are really thinking about how they develop and how they react to certain situations. And, if that's what you've got on your bench and you get an injury somewhere, then, someone's got to play out of position. Can they do it? And can they stand up to that pressure? And they seem to have done that this week.
Absolutely, yeah, that's good. Well, onto the semi-final. Another game, unfortunately, that I'm not going to make because I've got a horrible weekend away at Butlins for for this weekend, which will be delightful. So relying on you guys to do this one. But we've got Harlequins at home, which, Alex, being honest, is probably about the best draw we could have got with the top four, right?
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to be more confident going into that. We know we can beat Harlequins. Yes, we lost to them in the draw, but we've beaten them twice this season away, so it should be easy to do it at home. And I definitely think there would have been more nerves going against a Gloucester or Bristol or Exeter.
Yep.
You know, Bristol beat us last season at home in the semi. Gloucester Hartpury have such fantastic form over the last few games. So I think this is kind of the easiest route to get to the final.
Absolutely, yeah. And Gloucester and Bristol both have quite a bit of momentum, really, don't they? Obviously, Gloucester have been top of the table for quite a long time, and Bristol, as much as we don't want to say it, they do have the Ilona Mar factor. It does seem to have given them a bit of a boost towards the end of the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think they lost a couple of games, and that meant they kind of had to go, and they knew we have to win every game if we want to make the final, and then they did that.
Absolutely. Jez, you think the same? Good draw? Don't want to play either of the other two?
I think out of the teams, yes, Quins would be the one that you would look at saying is the preferable one, whilst saying there are no easy games in semi-finals. You know, last season we felt Bristol at home, yeah, we're going to be a tough game, but we should have won it, and probably that still burns a fire in a lot of people's belly. You know, but Bristol really finished the season like a train, and we go back to that word momentum. They really have thrown a few rocks in spokes and whatever, and then twigs in spokes. You know, and really have come to the forefront. Gloucester have been great for the last, the second half of the season. They've been superb. So, yeah, you know, you really did want to avoid them, particularly as if you were playing them, you're going to be playing them away from home. But, yeah, Bristol-Gloucester is going to be a big, hard match, as will be us against Quins. I mean, there's no foregone. But, yeah, out of all the teams, I think a home semi-final against anybody you fancy yourself. Quins or Bears, I'm glad we got Quins, although that may come back to bite us on the backside.
Like I say, yeah, there's no easy games. And we've seen in recent semi-finals at home, it hasn't always worked out for us. So, yeah, fingers crossed for next weekend. And hopefully, I'd say hopefully, because we've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks, I may be talking to May Campbell post-match in the week after that. We'll see. Hopefully we can both find a bit of time, as we've been trying to do for a while. But we'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what's happened in the Six Nations this weekend.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
You are listening to the Fezcast, which is proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association, and I'm Alison Davis, one of the SSA committee. For a £10 annual subscription, the SSA provides our members with monthly newsletters, virtual and in-person player events, away match ticket allocations, and we organise pre-match gatherings at away matches. We sponsor men's and women's players, and we support the Saracens Foundation Track Club on behalf of our members. On top of all that, every year we have a seasonal SSA badge, which is exclusive to members. Where else can you get that much value for a tenner? Join now at membermojo.co.uk/SSA, or come and see us on match day in the Oasis at the Stonex.
This is the Fezcast.
Welcome back to the Fezcast. Six Nations time. And we actually only had representation from Saracens players in the England match, and I believe very briefly for Italy, I think. Actually, no. Scratch that. Marco Riccioni didn't play either, so it's just in the England game. That's a really good start, isn't it?
Well, you could tell you watched a lot of rugby this weekend, Matt.
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well. Right. All I'm going to do is serve up a nice easy volley for Jez just to have a little crack at this. So, Jez, you've got the Italy France game and the Wales Ireland game to talk about. Off you pop.
Well, Italy France. To be honest with you, I mean it was just one of those. Was from France the week before and played some great rugby, and fair dues to them for doing so. Italy, slightly disappointed with. I don't know how they're affected going into their next game, which is against England. I really don't know. But yeah, it was. I mean, for all the fact we saw 100 points in the game, I was bored witless by it by about 60 minutes into the game and was playing on the game on my phone whilst watching it in the background. But, you know, I mean, what can you say? France put 7-1 split on the bench and, you know, it worked for them. They just told a bunch of big boys to go run around for 50 minutes and then swapped them out for another bunch of big boys to run around for 30 minutes. So, I mean, you know, there you go. That's the way it goes, isn't it? So, not a lot you can take from that. Wales against Ireland. Ireland lucked out there a little bit. The most important thing for me from that Wales game was the fact that Nick Tompkins wasn't playing. And we said last week, didn't we, myself and Barry, that we hoped that he perhaps took a bit of a blighty wound. Now sat on a beach somewhere, sunning himself, having a couple of San Miguel's and or julep beers or whatever, and refreshing his batteries because he desperately needs some time off. So that was good to see.
That's fair enough. I mean, the one thing I'm going to pick up on and ask Alex is whether she agrees with you, Jez, that a 97-point game on the Sunday was dull. Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy that game, Alex?
I actually didn't watch it.
Oh!
To do. It was the one game weekend I didn't watch.
Okay. Do you regret not seeing it?
No.
There you go then. So that is kind of agree with Jez. There we go. But yeah, more importantly, it was the England-Scotland game, and a bit of a hoodoo finally put to bed, sort of, just by someone lacking a kicking boot. And a lot of comment about England's pretty toothless attack, but actually finding a way to win by 1 point when we've usually lost by 1 point over the last year is, you know, it's part of the game, really. Jez, having said that the 97-point game was dull, I'm assuming you enjoyed the close quarters England-Scotland game.
It was. I mean, yeah. I mean, rugby's a game that means different things to different people, and you know, I mean, that's the sort of game that I enjoyed playing. Blood and guts and thunder and big hits and whatever. And actually, you know, for everything that's going on, there's a number of things I really need to pick up on from the people on social media. And I've been critical of Steve Borthwick. I know I've been critical of Steve Borthwick. And yeah, I'd like to see us play a bit more expansive game of rugby. But at the end of the day, we've played 3 games in this tournament. We've won 2 games at home, admittedly only by a point, but against 2 sides who have been better than us over previous years and a lot better than us in the last couple of seasons as well at Six Nations time. And we've beaten them. And you won't remember in years to come the fact that it was a pretty dour affair, as a lot of Calcutta Cup matches are. I mean, I remember seeing 9 frees in Calcutta Cup, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's the game. It's the old enemy. Scotland are desperate to beat us, and perhaps a little bit of quality goes out the window. The fact remains, what England did, well, they did very well, which is their defence was exceptional. Their discipline, which has been a problem in previous seasons, was exceptional again. And the pressure they put on Scotland, I mean, Scotland had so much of the game in the first half in particular. They should have been 25 points. They should have been ahead in the same way that France were ahead of Italy the following day. But an English defence got in their faces. And apart from the saloon door at fullback, which we'll discuss a bit further on, England stood up and hit hard and did well. But more importantly, and we're going to mention him, Maro Itoje, not only man of the match, I mean, how Ben Kay gave it to Duhan van der Merwe, who gave Finn Russell a very difficult conversion to win the game and also butchered a couple of opportunities when it would have been easier for him to put a pass inside or whatever because he thought, I'm the bully boy and I score a hat-trick against England every time I come out. Maro Itoje was man of the match, and I would say that Maro Itoje was probably player of the week across all 3 matches, not just for his general play, although the one-handed Theo McFarlane style take at the line out was out of this world. Under the pressure he was under, to take that was brilliant. But his turnovers were outstanding. I mean, he got away with one where he was basically levitating, and well done to him. But then again, when they're all saying that man of the match was the French referee, he let Jamie Ritchie get away with a fair amount of nefarious activity. So, what swings and roundabouts and everything. But Maro's captaincy really is important. And I think when you had Rory Darge and Finn Russell moaning at the referee for much of the second half, saying, why aren't you on our side? Why aren't you on our side? Maro got on the right side of the referee, talked to him calmly, talked to him with a collectedness about him, made the right decisions at the right time to kick for goal or whatever. And Maro's captaincy won that game, and that's why I think he was the player of the weekend across all the games.
Fair enough. Before the Six Nations, I was maybe critical was probably the right word, actually, of Maro's captaincy, and thinking he may be a bit too much of a calm and considered person. I might have to eat some humble pie by the end of the tournament and going into the rest of the season. Who knows? But Alex, that's probably the first time you've witnessed a proper Jez soapbox rant that went on possibly for about 5 minutes. I don't know. Is there anything that you can add from the game that Jez hasn't already covered in minute detail?
I just think it's better because you can start winning by 1 point and then you can start increasing that and building momentum. So the important thing is to get the win. It doesn't have to be by miles. As long as you get it and then you build on that, that's what's important. And that's what we need to do going forward. Yeah,
and we've got Italy and Wales coming up, which in theory, we've played the three most difficult games of the tournament, and we've got the two teams that are fifth and sixth. So assuming, Alex, that you want us to kick on and expand our game a little bit from there, right?
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see do we change the team for those slightly kind of weaker sides, or do we kind of keep it the same and hope to build on that going into the summer?
Jez, part two.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? We've got a winning team at the moment, and actually the formula seems to work quite well. The first point of contention is, should Jamie George be starting at hooker? I actually think Jamie at the moment is doing more value for England coming on in the second half and taking control of that part of the game. Luke Cowan-Dickie will always throw himself around, will always throw himself dangerously into situations, but he will give you 100%. You can't take that away from Luke Cowan-Dickie. His accuracy is the issue. But if he's on the field and England stay in the game, and then Jamie George comes on, that gives you the impetus to further expand and to gain control. And that's what we've done against France. That's what we've done against Scotland, is that Jamie George came on and we were still in the game, and his control, along with Maro, allowed us to go forward. The other problem position, and I mentioned it already, is fullback. Now, I don't want to be Debbie Downer on Marcus Smith, but Finn Smith has nailed down the 10 shirt for England. Bang, that's done. That's his to lose now. Is Marcus Smith the best fullback in the country? No, far from it. And I think George Furbank's coming back from injury, but you've also got Elliot Daly, who, again, Elliot came onto the pitch and made huge amounts of difference. Elliot, for me, has got to play against Italy, whether it be in place of Henry Slade or in place of Marcus Smith. And I would actually say that Henry Slade probably offers you more than Marcus Smith playing out of position. So Elliot starts at fullback for me against Italy, with Marcus on the bench. And then, do we then look at doing the 7-1 split in the forwards and beating them up big style like France did, with Marcus Smith covering everything across the back line apart from perhaps inside centre? It's something I've been advocating for quite some time, and I think he's got the potential to be able to do that. That's the important thing. Other than that, I wouldn't change too much. The issue is, I don't know, Tom Willis went off injured just as he was really getting into the game. He'd made a couple of big bursts, big charges, and a couple of really tasty turnovers, and then got hurt. I don't know how serious that injury is, whether the week off might allow him to come back in. But yeah, he's really beginning to look to the man born. Wow.
That's good to know. It's good to know. I'll pick up on the Marcus Smith thing, because I think I kind of agree with you, Jez. I think actually Marcus Smith for, if you look at the last 15, 20 minutes of a game, Marcus Smith coming off the bench fresh is really, really frightening for teams. Do you maybe see that, Alex, as perhaps the best way to get something out of him?
Yeah, I think so. I think playing international rugby, you need to have good players in each position, at least two, preferably three. And he's not really a fullback. He's much more of a fly half. So I think coming off the bench, he'll have a much bigger impact than he can have at fullback.
Can't say fairer than that. And he covers extra positions as well. Jez, we've let you have 2 goes. Have you got anything else you want to get?
Yeah, I just gonna mention Ben Earl as well, because I think Ben last season was explosive. He was England's player of the Six Nations, which in a not fantastic Six Nations, but not a terrible Six Nations, wasn't too difficult to do. This year, he's taken on, I think, a lot more responsibility in that back row. And bearing in mind, he's playing with the Twindaloos, the Ben and Tom Curry. He's not the senior player per se, but he's definitely playing as a senior player. Moving to 8 when Tom Willis came off, he really did. Again, he gave a bit of control there and a bit of substance, and he grows into the game. And, we talk about Marcus Smith coming on and being a player that could frighten players in the last 15, 20 minutes. Ben Earl can do that. And he's played 60 minutes beforehand. I mean, he's got an engine and a motor. And I think somebody half jokingly, I saw it on Facebook or something today, turned around and said, last 20 minutes against Italy, wouldn't it be great to see him popping up and playing at inside centre just to see how he went? I mean, if we're 50 points up, why not? Let's just see, and experiment a little bit. I mean, and that could be something that could happen if you go a 7-1 split on the bench. I mean, how interesting would that be to see?
I don't know. I'd let people play in their positions is my view. But Alex, what do you reckon?
I think maybe as kind of a backup option if we're doing a 7-1 split on the bench and you kind of need someone because of injuries or whatever. I think generally people play a lot better in the positions that they like, and that's generally what they're best at.
I will just say that if you're good in one position, like I was, you tend to be quite good in other positions as well,
Right, well, that's quite enough of that. Let's just look ahead quickly to the weekend, because there's not as much going on for us as you expect. But I have half an eye on Ampthill. We're actually playing a random championship game that's a bit of a carryover from a previous match. So we'll see if there's any Saracens players involved in that. Sam Crean might end up playing for Ulster on Saturday as well. But obviously the main event is our PWR semi-final against Quins. 3:00 on Saturday, so make sure you grab some tickets for that. Alex, I'm assuming you're going to be there, right?
Yeah, I am.
Absolutely. I don't know whether Jez is planning on trying to travel down for that one.
Well, I will say, I have to say as well that to mum and dad, the king and queen, it's their wedding anniversary on Saturday, and then it's my dad's birthday on Sunday. So we're meeting up with them at some point over the weekend and handing over presents and everything. So I expect we'll be watching it on YouTube if they've got the YouTube going, or if it's should be on the telly, shouldn't it?
I think this one's on TNT, I believe.
So we'll be watching it on TNT.
BBC,
yeah.
We'll try and get the stream while I'm sat on the Somerset coast, and we'll see. But I'll definitely be at the final, whether or not we're in it. And yeah, hopefully we get to speak to someone from the club post the semi-final. But yeah, best of luck to everyone involved in that. That will do us for this week.
Just quickly.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
When this comes out, there will be Women's World Cup tickets on sale. They start on Tuesday, and so they'll be on sale when this comes out.
Well done, Alex.
There we go.
As ever, you keep us looking professional, Alex. Well done.
Well, guess who's already got a ticket to the final?
Matthew, have you now? How do you do that, you dodgy
No. I signed up very, very early and got the advanced ticket. So yes, I've got a ticket to the World Cup final. I hope a lot of other people have too. It should be a fantastic tournament, and Alex is exactly right. Tickets all come out after. Yeah, when this goes out, snap them up. And I bet what normally happens when we talk about things like this, we've tried to cover everything that we can on the show. There's going to be some kind of contract announcement Tuesday or Wednesday, and our show will be completely out of date. So, congratulations to the 7 Saracens players that have all signed new deals, and for us signing Anton Dupont for the next 5 years.
And Owen Farrell apparently had to get Owen in.
Contractual obligation filled, and on that note, we'll end the show. Thank you, Jez. Thank you, Alex.
Cheers.
This is the Fezcast.